Welcome to the Retirement Made Easy podcast, a show created to be your go-to source for straightforward retirement advice. Best of all, it is presented in a language that you can understand. Are you ready for some straight talk on retirement planning without all the fluff? Well, you found the right podcast. Here's your host, certified financial planner, Greg Gonzalez.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Retirement Made Easy podcast. I'm Greg Gonzalez. On this episode, this is episode number 126. We are going to be talking about reasons why semi-retirement may be right for you. Now, my goal here is not to convince you to go into a semi-retirement and work in some capacity part-time. That decision is totally up to you and your spouse if you're married, whatever is going to make your retirement vision come true. Working part-time in some capacity, some way, shape, or form, that may not be part of your retirement vision, and that's okay. However, I have helped dozens and dozens of families plan for and transition into retirement throughout my career because that's all I focus on is retirement planning. So in coming up with these retirement plans, some people want to work part-time in some capacity. Maybe it's as a consultant. And I just want to name some of the advantages to doing so, if you choose to. Retirement doesn't have to be an all or nothing proposition. So that's going to be our main discussion on today's episode number 126, reasons why semi-retirement might be right for you. But before we get into that discussion, I just want to remind listeners to check out my website, retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. There's a lot of resources for you. I'm going to be adding more of those in 2023. So I will try to let you know when those become available. Again, my website, retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. If you have questions, at the bottom of the website, it says, Ask Greg a Question. Feel free to submit your questions, either to me that you just want answered maybe over a phone call or email. That's fine. And I will always ask permission to use somebody's question for a future episode of the podcast. So don't let that hold you back. And also, I do offer a 30-minute retirement coaching session for those that are serious and have questions about their own retirement plan. And maybe there's some pressing questions that are really bothering them. That's where I can help people over a telephone call, 30 minutes, and we can talk about your situation. I've really enjoyed doing those 30-minute retirement coaching calls. I've talked to people from 12 different states. I counted 12 different states over the past 6 months or so. So that's kind of cool. That's neat. Kind of a benefit of doing the podcast. So I'll continue, but continue to submit your questions. That really helps me produce future content for the podcast, and I'll keep going as long as people are listening. Let's jump into today's episode, reasons why semi-retirement might be right for you, reasons why people choose a semi-retirement working in some capacity. So number one, and again, I'm not just making these up. This is from conversations I've had with clients, with podcast listeners, and what reasons why people are choosing semi-retirement and reasons why it's advantageous to do so. So all of these reasons may not apply to your situation, but certainly some of them probably will. So the number one reason why people push off retirement until 65 is Medicare, is the cost of health insurance. And they know at 65, I can hop on Medicare and I can have what most people would consider good health insurance through Medicare. Maybe they're getting a Medicare supplement plan, Medicare Advantage plan, and they know that's accepted everywhere. They're going to be okay. But try getting a quote for private health insurance prior to age 65. A lot of people look at what COBRA would cost them or what, a private health insurance would cost, and it's like a mortgage payment for each spouse. So one of the reasons why semi-retirement is so popular for a lot of people is it helps pay for health insurance. Sometimes employers will offer health insurance to, people working part-time. Maybe it's just 30 hours a week. And other times people just say, okay, if I'm going to be working, let's say 20, 25 hours a week, I'll just use part of my income to pay for my health insurance until I'm 65. So they have in their minds that's part of that semi-retirement income already earmarked for a purpose, and that purpose is health insurance. The other thing, advantage number two, reason number two why semi-retirement is so popular is because when somebody retires, let's say they were working full-time, 40 hours a week, maybe it's 50 hours a week. When you go from 50 hours a week or 40 hours a week to 0 hours a week of work, that's a very, very hard transition line. And so some people like to ease into retirement because going from, say 40 hours a week to 20, let's say they're working 3 days a week instead of 5. Well, that's an easier transition into retirement, and they have a easier time finding how to fill the hours in the week. So this work, this semi-retirement that I'm talking about, it allows them to stay busy enough, as busy as they want to be, working on a very limited basis. And as far as the work, I would get that structured with your employer, whoever you're working for or with. Have a set hours. A lot of people don't want to go in on Monday anymore, or maybe they don't work on Fridays. Whatever your hours are that are most convenient for you. And have a set time saying, okay, I'm going to work 25 hours a week. I'm going to be a contract employee, and I'm not going to be entitled to all the, 401k benefits and all that good stuff because I'm just a contract employee, but I'm not working any more than 25 hours a week. Once I reach that point, I'm done for the week. It's my weekend. The other big advantage of doing so is if you're just working, let's say 20 hours a week, 25 hours a week, well, you've got more time. If you want to take an extended vacation, like on a weekend, a long vacation, you can. If you want to help out with the grandkids, if you have any, or your own adult children, you certainly can. You have more flexibility in your schedule. If you want to go grocery shopping on a Tuesday morning when no one's there, you can. So it kind of gives you that flexibility and that time to take advantage of opportunities like that. So I see a lot of people that are going into the semi-retirement. They're kind of picking and choosing the hours that they want to work and how much they want to work. But also you want to try to do the work that you enjoy. I had one gentleman say that he was going from 40 hours a week to 20 hours a week. And he just talked to his boss. He said, hey, this is what I'm thinking. I'm going to come back as a contract employee working 20 hours a week. And I'm going to do this, this, and this. I'm not going to do my full job responsibilities now as a full-time employee. I'm just going to kind of focus on these projects, this type of work, because that's what I enjoy doing the most, and will delegate all those other responsibilities to someone who's full-time. I have other people that are doing small businesses. Maybe they really like to, repair small engines. I have a client or two that's doing that. Or starting some small business where they get to determine the hours of operation and how busy they want to work. Sometimes it means, okay, they're turning away work, and that's okay. They're kind of focusing on the business, the jobs that they want. I even have a client that, during the summer months, the spring, the summer, and fall, he really likes mowing the yard. So he actually has a zero-turn lawnmower. So he actually mows, I think, 4 or 5 of the neighbors' yards. They're all still working. He's the only retired guy on the street, but that's what he does. He's cutting his own yard. So basically he does all the lawn care for all of his neighbors, and he can get it done and kind of mows on his schedule, and when it's not raining, and it's a great source of side income for him. So we talked about some of the benefits of the income coming in, right? You could use that to pay for health insurance. You could use that extra income to pay off debt. Maybe it's a mortgage or something like that. You could even use the income to fund Roth IRAs. I see a lot of people doing that, using that income to fund Roth IRAs. In 2022, for somebody over 50, if they're under the earnings cap, they can contribute up to $7,000 a year into a Roth IRA. And in 2023, that's actually going up of $500 to $7,500 a person. So that's something that people can do, is they can use that part-time semi-retirement income to throw more money into their retirement nest egg. So that's an advantage. You're helping your retirement accounts, your retirement nest egg. You're allowing it to grow more, because for many people, they might say, okay, with this part-time income, I'm not going to have to dip into my retirement accounts because I have this part-time income. So it's allowing those accounts to grow and grow and grow. Other people, maybe they'll say, okay, I don't have to dip into my retirement accounts as much for income because I have this part-time income to help pay for my lifestyle. So that's one of the main benefits that I see. Another benefit is it allows some people to delay their Social Security benefits by having this part-time semi-retirement income. And so you're getting deferral credits with your Social Security. So by delaying them, well, you're just going to have a bigger Social Security check down the road when you go to claim. And also think about this, while you're working, you're still paying into Social Security. So for many people, that Social Security check will actually get a little bit bigger because you're still paying in with that part-time income to Social Security. Another reason why semi-retirement seems to work so well for so many people is they're nervous about retirement, right? I mean, it is a huge, huge change in your life. For many people, part of their identity is their career, what they do for a living. And giving that up and retiring is really, really tough on some people. So semi-retirement is like the perfect middle ground for that kind of person. And also, especially if you're in one of those jobs or careers that has deadlines and involves a lot of stress maybe, well, just working on a part-time limited basis, maybe I'm saying 20, 25 hours a week, whatever it ends up being, that's going to relieve a lot of that stress in a lot of cases because you're not working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. And also another point that I'll make that I have experienced over the years, and especially when there's a difference in age between husband and wife, ideally, we want to see a couple retiring at the same time. You will enjoy retirement much, much more if both spouses are retiring close to the same time. I've done so many retirement plans over the years and worked with so many couples where spouse number one retires early, spouse number two is going to work for 3 or 4 more years. And 9 times out of 10, what ends up happening is spouse number two ends up pushing up their retirement because it's no fun for spouse number one to be retired by himself or herself. For some couples, it's just much more retirement to have that retirement dream and vision come true when one spouse is working and the other spouse is retired and kind of doing their own thing, trying to enjoy retirement on their own. I guess for some couples that works just fine, but semi-retirement, if you think about that, let's say spouse number one continues to work part-time, let's say 20, 25 hours a week, and let's say the younger spouse continues to work full-time. Well, in a lot of instances, in my experience, it can be a nice compromise where spouse number one is semi-retired and maybe gets home earlier, can start dinner, that kind of thing, while the other spouse is still working full-time. Typically, it's the younger spouse that continues to work full-time, but certainly not always. So that might be a good solution for a couple where both spouses are working and there's an age gap, an age difference, and maybe their goals as far as when they want to retire, maybe it's an age or a year. If they don't line up, semi-retirement can be a great, great compromise. I have even worked with couples where, let's say the husband is older, spouse number one, he goes into, semi-retirement and he no longer has health insurance coverage, but his wife, who's younger, spouse number two, she continues to work full time and covers both of them through her employer's group health insurance plan. So by doing a little bit of planning and thinking ahead of time and saying, okay, if you love your job, but you're just worn out with 40 to 50 hours a week, if it's just becoming too much, well, maybe part-time semi-retirement, maybe they hire you back as a consultant. Maybe you start a small business you've always wanted to do. These are all opportunities, all options for you where you're not just sitting on the couch. And I have heard so many people that were disappointed with retirement because they got into retirement and they didn't plan ahead, right? They didn't go through my retirement blueprint and say, okay, this is what I want my vision to look like. And I don't know where I heard this, but I've heard it many places. Failing to plan is planning to fail. And if you're worried that, hey, you'll lose your sense of purpose once you retire, maybe this semi-retirement just might fit the bill for you. In fact, at my office, I hired a new team member this year And she retired. She was working as an assistant to a financial planner here in town, got into retirement, and kind of had a lot of time on her hands. She did some volunteering, wanted to continue to do that. But she kind of said, I got a lot of life and a lot of energy left in me. I'd like to go back to work, but certainly not full time. And she had so much experience helping this financial planner in town that she came over, met our team, and it's really worked out really, really well because she really, really enjoys working with our clients. She enjoys the work. She's got decades of experience. So for her, semi-retirement was an awesome solution. And like I said, she works 20 hours a week. Her hours are extremely flexible. And I must say, we're just happy to have her and a part of our team. So I hope today's discussion has been insightful and helpful and really kind of got you thinking. Is semi-retirement something that I should consider? And maybe you need to update your retirement plan. Just as I think back to my own family, like my grandfather and my grandmother, for example, they actually chose about 20 years ago, chose semi-retirement. My grandfather was a podiatrist and my grandmother she was the office manager. And they chose retirement where he went from 5 days a week to Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2 days a week. And I think he did that for probably 3 years until his Parkinson's got so bad and he just had to retire. With my own parents, my father ended up going the semi-retirement route for a little while before he retired. But my mother, she ended up just retiring once she had enough years of service for her pension. So everybody's situation is certainly different. Semi-retirement may not be something that you've even considered, but I would encourage you to consider it. If you're married, talk to your spouse and see if it's in the cards for you, if it's something that you thought about. And how does that extra income, that part-time income, impact your retirement plan? Do you need it? Of course, it's going to help people regardless, right? Income versus no income. Obviously, the part-time semi-retirement income is going to help anybody's retirement plan. And as I mentioned, it might mean, a substantial difference because maybe you can delay tapping into your retirement accounts as early in retirement. Maybe you're delaying your Social Security benefits so they're higher in the future. So it's kind of like a double whammy, a double benefit. So like I said, I hope this discussion has been helpful. If you have questions, visit my website, retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. I'll see you next week. And remember, always dream big. The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, please consult your attorney, tax advisor, or financial advisor prior to investing. This is a hypothetical example and is not representative of any specific investment. Your results may vary. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices mentioned are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. The SmartVestor program is a directory of investment professionals. Neither Dave Ramsey nor SmartVestor are affiliates of St. Louis Retirement Advisors or LPL Financial. There is no guarantee that a diversified portfolio will enhance overall returns or outperform a non-diversified portfolio. Diversification does not protect against market risk. All investing involves risk, including loss of principal. No strategy assures success or protects against loss. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA, SIPC.
Thank you for listening to the show today. Check us out at our website, retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. And if you want some help from Greg, submit your questions at the bottom of the page or sign up for a 30-minute retirement coaching session with Greg. We'll see you next week.